Imagine a company that sells billions of cans of a sweet energy drink every year, yet also owns Formula One teams, football clubs, extreme sports events, and even produces its own media content. So the big question is Red Bull just selling a drink, or is it actually selling an entire lifestyle? In 2019, Red Bull sold about 7.5 billion cans. That's almost one can for every person on Earth. But Red Bull is not just a beverage company. It runs 2 Formula One teams, owns several professional football clubs, an ice hockey team, and organizes global sporting events like the Crashed Ice Challenge and the Wings for Life World Run. It also sponsors thousands of athletes and produces its own media content. So clearly, Red Bull is doing much more than simply selling an energy drink. The story begins in 1982, when an Austrian businessman was traveling in Thailand and struggling with severe jet lag. During the trip, he tried a local drink called Krating Dang. Surprisingly, the drink helped him recover quickly. Krating Dang translates roughly to Red Bull, named after a powerful wild animal found in Southeast Asia. Inspired by the drink's effect, he decided to introduce it to Western markets as a completely new category, the energy drink. When he presented the idea to investors in Europe and America, most rejected it. They believed there was no market for such a product outside Asia. But he understood something important. There was no market because no one had created it yet. Confident in the idea, he invested $500,000 of his own money and partnered with the owner of the original Krating Dang company, who invested the same amount. Together, they created a new company. The drink's formula and taste were slightly modified for European consumers, and in 1987, the product officially launched in Austria. At first, the drink faced regulatory challenges and was even banned in Germany. Ironically, this helped build its reputation. Curious young people began crossing the border into Austria just to buy the drink. In its first year alone, more than 1 million cans were sold. From Austria, the brand quickly expanded across Europe, reaching Slovakia and Hungary in the early 1990s, then Germany and the United Kingdom shortly after. When the company entered the United States market a few years later, it was already selling over 1 million cans every single day. But the real secret behind Red Bull's success wasn't just the drink, it was the marketing strategy. Unlike companies like Coca-Cola or Pepsi, Red Bull chose not to focus on manufacturing. Instead, the company outsourced production and logistics entirely. This meant Red Bull itself doesn't actually produce the drink. Other companies manufacture and package it, while Red Bull concentrates almost entirely on marketing and brand building. And financially, this strategy works extremely well. Producing one can costs only a few cents, yet the drink sells for several dollars at retail price. Even large retailers purchase it for far more than the production cost. The reason consumers are willing to pay such a high price is simple: brand power. In the early days, Red Bull focused heavily on youth culture and nightlife. The company hired popular university students to act as brand managers. Their job was to promote the drink on campus and organize parties fully supplied with Red Bull. Special promotional cars carrying giant Red Bull cans would appear at beaches, colleges, gyms, and offices, distributing free samples. Bars and clubs quickly realized that mixing the drink with alcohol created extremely popular cocktails. Soon, energy drink mixes became a staple in nightlife around the world. This helped Red Bull build a strong presence exactly where its target audience was. But the company didn't stop there. Instead of traditional advertising, Red Bull decided to create experiences. Through sponsorships and ownership of sports teams, the brand connected with audiences in a much deeper way. When people watch extreme sports, racing, or football teams carrying the Red Bull logo, they associate the drink with excitement, energy, and adventure. The company doesn't just tell stories, it creates them. Red Bull produces its own events and media content, meaning it owns the rights to the photos, videos, and broadcasts from these events. With social media, this content spreads globally, creating massive exposure. One of the most famous examples happened in 2012 when a skydiver jumped from the edge of space in a record-breaking stunt broadcast live around the world. The project reportedly cost around $50 million, but the global media coverage it generated was estimated to be worth billions. Moments like these helped transform Red Bull from a beverage brand into a global entertainment powerhouse. Still, the company knows it cannot rely on just one product forever. Even though it invests heavily in sports teams, events, and media production, the vast majority of its revenue still comes from selling energy drinks. In fact, beverage sales account for roughly 97% of the company's total income. The sports teams, athletes, and media projects are often described internally as brand investments. In other words, they are designed mainly to strengthen the brand rather than generate direct profit. However, some of these investments have also created real financial value. For example, years ago, the company purchased a professional football club in New York for about $25 million. Over time, as soccer grew in popularity in the United States, the value of the team increased dramatically. Today, the club is worth many times its original purchase price. Owning multiple teams also allows the company to develop young talent across different leagues and countries, creating a network of clubs that support each other. Despite all these ventures, the core of the business remains simple. Red Bull sells energy drinks. Everything else, the sports teams, the events, the athletes, the viral stunts, serves one purpose: strengthening the brand and keeping the drink at the center of global youth culture. So while it might look like a sports empire or a media company, at its heart, Red Bull is still built on a very simple idea: sell a small can of energy and build an entire world around it.